start talking about things. Okay, so this is our 89th BC open discussion. There is one question posted by, I forgot his name. He is a regular attendee. I forgot his name. But the person who was talking about that emailing thing, reading emailing and all. And then Microsoft did announce what's new in the next release. As in, yeah, it seems pretty early in the game, but that's what the plan is. So we'll briefly go about what's available as of today for the next release. There's nothing much, and it's surprising that it seems that the product is being stable from the Microsoft side. So nothing major, but yes, there are 2-3 things which I'm super excited about. So we'll talk about them, and then let's see where it goes if time permits. So if you're watching the recording, you register on this page. This page normally gets updated after this meeting or maximum by tomorrow morning, my India time. And if you are here, then you just drop your name and email and you don't have to register going forward. Okay. Now the question that we were talking about is around, is there a way that we can read Outlook email to create and update customer? Now, I was a little bit busy today with a upgrade go live, but I was at the same time looking at possibilities of doing something like this in the graph. So let me pull up my graph window so that we can see that. Okay, so if you have to read emails, then I guess there is a message in this where you can just get all the mails, which is the email changes. Okay, it's called something like messages. If you do a get query around it, it'll return all the emails that you have in your inbox. Now what I've done is I have also sent out some fake emails on my email ID, and I just wanted to get the clarity, which I didn't because the person is not here. I can't talk about the way that person wants it, but just an idea that maybe he's trying to create a customer based on the subject line or based on the body of the email. So the problem that happens here, after my analysis and others can correct me if I'm wrong, and if they have played with this, is this will return you everything, but the content will be in HTML format. So it gets a little bit tricky to read HTML and get the info out of it. Now, the idea that was floating in my head while I was doing this is maybe we can have some attachments on these emails in the way that you want it, like maybe in a JSON format or in a CSV format, that then we can download and utilize them in the CSV buffer or maybe a JSON reader. And then based on that info that we read from the email attachment, we can then create or update records in Business Central. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I will need to look into this, how whether the completed body can be downloaded in some other way. There are multiple emails. This one which you
Yeah,
are
so
using is me. That means it will only download my messages. There are other APIs which can download
yes,
any user's messages.
right. So the idea was something like, and maybe if I have my environment open, what I was trying to do, which I was not able to bake in completely, is let me see where it is here. Okay. So in our SharePoint setup, I just added a new option, which is the last read time. So instead of reading everything from the Outlook, what we'll do is we'll save when we did the last read, because the output that comes from the Grasp API tells you when this message was received, right? So you know that, okay, till this point I have read everything, and I would like to start any email that have been received after that particular point of time. So if you have to do that, then what you do is you can actually apply a filter here, which is any filter like you can do on any OData feed, which goes something like the question mark and then the parameter is dollar, and then you can apply the filter that you want based on any of these fields, right? Let's say this. And then you can apply the parameters like greater than is GE, less than is LE and all. And then whatever the value that will be stored here based on what we read last time, we'll just parameterized it in our code and pass it like this. So anything that came after this time, which was the last read, will run the query so that we get the filtered output of it. And you can apply other kind of filters like is it being read or not and things like that. So what we are getting now is 3 sets of email only. One is this with the subject line. Where is the subject line? Yeah, sample. The other one is test email 1, and the other one is test email 2, which are the 3 emails which are sent after this date and time. Once you have it, you can again filter out this results in your AL code, assuming that it has attachment or not, just to kind of limit what kind of records you are getting. And once you know that I have these record set which have attachment, then to fetch attachment from one of the email, let's say this one, you can use this ID because that's the primary key more or less. You can filter out or you can call the API with this so that it only shows you one, which goes something like this, one result set. And then if it has an attachment and you would like to read them, then you can do a slash attachments. It'll show you all the attachments that are there in the email. Now, this is where I was able to read it in the AL code also till this point, and the code looks similar. I didn't save anything, but this is something what it looks like. That you, based on the last read email, you send out this graph API, which reads that. And then once you read it, you will need, let's say, 2 things, and we'll store it in our dictionary. And if there are more records than 0, then we'll start reading each record into it. And based on that, we'll try to fetch the attachment out of it. Now, I'm hoping, based on what I'm able to read on Microsoft documentation at this moment, that you can actually read this content, which is in the content byte. And I'm trying to see that can I put it into in stream. Because once it is in a stream, then you can have, if it's an Excel file, then you can use Excel buffer. If it's a CSV file, then you can use CSV buffer. If it's in JSON format, then you can write your custom code to read that JSON that is coming out of it. So the whole idea that I'm trying to kind of achieve this is based on that there is an attachment in the file, and then based on that file, you start reading that and then utilizing it. Now, Sandeep sir, as you're saying that maybe we have a generic ID and instead of me, it kind of points to that user. I think that'll be possible by just getting the GUID or the ID of that particular user. Let me see what it returns if I have users. Is there one that can read a users? Okay, here it is. So with this, all users in organization, and this is a dummy environment, so it will start showing me some dummy users here. Oh, I don't have permission, so that means the API needs a permission to read all users. anything that we are doing here kind of goes into our Azure DevOps app or Azure app that we have built, which we are using to read in Business Central. Okay, which kind of permission it needs? We
A
tried
lot of
all.
consent. So all have
Yeah,
to be given consent.
no, not all. Based on what kind of operation you're doing. So I'm just doing reads. So I'll just use the reads at this moment. Okay. So based on this permission, directory read all will be able to read all the users, which are these. This is the admin here, and then there is this guy. So if I have to read this guy email, I guess I can just do this with an admin consent to be very sure. You can't read it without the concern, without the content consent given by that user, or if you are an administrator, more or less. So let's see what that was. Okay. So I was doing the users thing, which comes from HTTPS graph.api. Oh, sorry, graph.microsoft.com/v 1.0 slash instead of me, I'll use the ID and then I'll try to read the messages. I'm hoping that'll work. I have the consent in there. Resource not found.
Give users after this before message.
Users?
Yes. Slash message.
But this is not showing, this should show only one, right?
No,
Let's see.
give after message. Message. I want that API messages. In fact, it will be messages here.
Yeah, it's messages.
Yeah. Now try.
No. Messages does not exist in this context. But I'm pretty sure there will be an API which can read emails from other people if needed for that matter.
In fact, let me just post the URL.
Okay.
That was my mistake. I posted in the chat.
Okay. Okay. Chat. Here it is. Oh, so you give the email ID of that user? Okay, let's try that. Let's pick this email ID. I've created some fake accounts here. And then messages. All right. Read basic. Consent. And this all is based on this OAuth window or in your app when you're doing it in Business Central. Read it all. No, it doesn't allow me to read other person mails. I'll have to search for it, but I'm pretty sure there will be something which an administrator can surely read through if he has the consent from it. I don't think it'll be hard to read it from the body, as we were talking about it earlier, right? So if anyone have any thoughts around that, maybe that'll help. But I don't think that you can actually read from the body of, as in you can convert this HTML to a plain text in the code, I'm saying, not here. And there are some online tools which can convert an HTML to a plain text. But then there can be crazy signatures on those emails. And like, this is my signature. There's no email body in that. Just the signature is taking on this. So I think the best way would be using attachment. But yeah, if we can do it from body, that surely would be great, because this is what it is at this point. So maybe we'll wait for that person who created this question. Maybe next week we'll talk about it again if required. Now let's quickly jump on and spend some time into what's new and what's planned for the next release. So again, it's kind of broken into different areas. The first one is application. I didn't find anything super interesting in the payment other than one feature. Let me start dragging them here. So on the bank reconciliation window, the next update that is coming up, and if you're noticing, Microsoft is doing updates in this area for every release more or less that I've seen in the past. So in the upcoming release, the bank reconciliation window will also be able to reconcile the checks based on the check ledger entry. So now the check entries can also be automatically reconciled using the bank reconciliation window. So that's the feature that's getting added in the next release. I don't know where this problem exists, but the extended text functionality is now also available into the VAT area of the Central. You can use bigger text, extended text description, and then they will be available on the sales and purchase reports. So for sure, there are some enhancement and changes on the sales and purchase document reports with the extended text feature on the VAT clauses. Our old account schedule is being renamed. Going forward, will be called as financial reporting. It's more or less the GUI change. What it will be called behind the scene, everything looks similar. It Now you can search it based on financial reporting. It'll open the same window, but earlier it was called overview. Now it will be called financial report pages. The row definition, column definition will remain same, and they will make sure that users who are using Business Central will still be able to search with the account schedule. But when they search for account schedules, they'll see financial reporting pop up in the search results. So just a change for the users from the perspective of when they start searching for account schedules, they'll start seeing financial reporting starting next release. Uh, a new VAT date field on the documents as well as on the entries, because there are some countries which requires you the VAT settlement and VAT return date. So that will be available. This is cool. Reversing option on the payment reconciliation journal. So if you have reconciled something and maybe did it for a wrong customer, you will be able to uh, recall that or reverse that, as it is available in different areas in Business Central. From last 2 or 3 releases, Microsoft is paying focus on this area, uh, where there's a reversal option available. There is also a number series being added into the payment reconciliation journal window. And then in the similar way as we see in other areas, you will be able to reverse the payment reconciliation journal if that's being done incorrectly. The remit to address for vendors is something that's again a small thing, but kind of get added into the next release, where they would like to receive payment into a different address, then they can have it as a different address on the transactions. Surprisingly, on the country and region, there is nothing much changing. No new countries being added in this release, which was a little bit surprise. There are two kind of W1 version which are kind of being available in every release of Business Central, every localized release. Uh, this one is the interstate solution, which was only part of W1, I guess. Now will be available for all of the countries and region. So this is kind of taking things from W1 and making sure it's available in other localized versions of Business Central. I don't know about the Italy and France localization, but again, there is something added just for them on the regional side. And that's all. So that means there is nothing being added. New countries are not being added in the next release. It's just some enhancements from W1 that are being ported back into every country. On the development, nothing super exciting. The one thing is on your pages, there is a separate area where you can place actions which you want to be promoted. So rather than defining that property on each action, and I'm assuming this at this point by reading the description, you can just place those actions, action groups, and actions into that area, which will make them promoted by default. For the legacy customers, where we have upgraded them to Business Central versions on-prem or SaaS, you can use either or. So if you are shifting to the new model, that's what this description is saying, then you should move everything to the new model. If you still want to use the old model, the application will take care of understanding that this need to be promoted and will utilize the model. But don't use a mix mode in the same page. That's what the summary looked like, but that's just for promoting some actions on the page. On the OData, which being used by most of the customer, the endpoint can now use the reference as well as the XML parameters. So the SOAP web services, which used to support code units with parameters and all, uh, this release, after this release, you can do it with the OData stack also. Then this is something which is good, which allows access to database row version for AL code, which means that every record in Business Central gets a row version of the last time it's modified kind of thing. So now we can add row version as a key if needed, and then use that to get the latest info or the latest version of that record. And there was a matching statement in nav word. I forgot the call. Get there was
Latest
something.
database version.
Yeah, latest database version, right? Yeah, right. Thanks.
Even
So
in
yeah,
Business Central,
that's
it is
the
there.
thing. Right. Is that?
Yeah, anytime we
I never
update
used
something
it.
from the SQL, we use it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So now, even without doing that, I guess we can now either add it to the index or use it in a query to find out the recent changes. So that will be a field which can be added, which will be across all the tables, and that can be added in the key if needed. I'll be super interested in that because this is something that will be used by most of the partners, because everybody went with their strategy, their plan, whatever they thought is the best plan when they start implementing extensions. Some people went with one extension. Some people thought that we will have a baseline extension which will have all the tables and table extension, and then there will be a another extension which will heavily rely on that kind of the table extension, so that we can keep a distinction between an extension which just hold the data and one which holds the functionality. And I'm pretty sure there are other models that people have used, but as the product is maturing, people are understanding what is the right way, and everybody thinks differently, so everyone has their own way. But the problem happens is when you have to run the upgrade by writing your own upgrade code units. So till now, when you are moving a field between extensions, you have to write a repeat until loop on an upgrade type code unit, so that the data kind of moves between those two extensions. There is not much detail yet, but it seems it'll be easier to move data between within the same table in a different field or between the tables. And I'm hoping they'll do something around sync. So let's see what they do. But using the new language construct, let's see what it is. It'll be easy to move a field with data from one table to another table, even if that's required. So the refactoring of the extension, which were I, I have done it for one or two customers, and it's painful sometimes to write all that logic to create an app which depends on both the apps and then move the data from the source app to this temporary app, then do a destructive change on the source app, and then move the data from this app to the actual app, which is super painful, to be very frank. Let's see what comes up with this, because that will make the app more efficient uh, by the partners if they spend some time and follow. Let's see what comes with it. I'm hoping a sync statement like it exists on prem right now. That's all on the development, which is a little bit surprising because I was hoping for more into the development area. Because if you have watched the last year announcement, Microsoft was talking about that they are planning to do something so that the SQL queries are visible in the debug mode or in the profiler, and maybe it's being baked in some of the minor cumulative update which I'm not aware about, but that is what I was expecting that will be part of the development thing. Okay, now governance and administration is more about SaaS. So if you have SaaS customer, this is something which is being talked about in great details because Microsoft is changing it, which is something like this. So if you have customers on SaaS and you have access to admin center, you see something like this, that the messages and information about the environment will not be utilizing the email addresses which are listed here, because that's what we do right now, that we specify as partners our email address in this section, so that anytime there is an update available or there is a issue, it gets notified based on whatever the recipients are here. Microsoft is going to change it, and if you have seen it, I'm pretty sure it's kind of comes at the top of your screen every time you log in. There is change that where this notification area is moving, which is on the Azure administrator or your where you assign licenses to your users. That's where this area is moving. So if you have customers on SaaS, you should start planning to do that. There's a detailed document on Microsoft Docs about it, and one of the fellow MVP have written a detailed article about it, that how you do that on your administration center, because that's where it moves to. And it's important because otherwise you will not be notified as a partner if there is an issue in the extension or if there is an update available, let's say 21.0. I'm hoping it'll take some time to be deprecated, but sooner than later, if you can switch it, it'll be easier for that. So the whole message center and the service health thing is moving towards that, and this being retired from the notification recipient area in the business central admin center. So all the communication about the availability, schedules, runs of upgrade, and all those things will now be reading emails instead of from here, from your partner center. So make sure that you log in there and update at least your detail as one of the notification partner who would like to get notified whenever there is a notification for this customer. So that's one thing which surely impacts SaaS partners, that they need to start working on it. Uh, on the outages, they will be. I haven't seen much. I've seen twice, I guess, till now after the launch of Business Central SaaS. It happened twice where Business Central was down for a while, half an hour or so. But if that happens, there will be notifications that will reach out and you will have to sign back in if required. And again, the notifications will again come from the emails listed in the partner center. I never had to do this, and I don't know who needs it, but this is something, a change that's being brought to have a capability to restore any environment that you have deleted within 7 days of deletion. So for any reason, if you have deleted an environment and in next 7 days, if you think that, oh, I might need it, you will be able to restore that without the help of Microsoft. So if the things like that, then it'll be soft deleted, but it'll be visible on the admin center as deleted. Like when we see it today on our admin centers, what we see is that this is what the state of it is, which is active, and when you are deleting or upgrading it, this state change. So I'm pretty sure it will not be accessible, and it'll say deleted for next 7 days, and after 7 days that'll be removed. I never had to do it, but maybe this is something that's some people need. This is something cool if you haven't played with admin APIs and if you are a partner. So admin APIs are APIs which help you to monitor the health of your customers. Not just the health, but do activities without manually logging into the environment. So like if I'm here on for this customer and the Business Central 21 releases, and as an activity, whenever a new version comes, as a partner, what I do is I create a new environment for them and then let it upgrade to 21, and at the same time I make sure that these environment don't get upgraded until unless customer have tested it. Now multiply it with a number that you have for your customer, let's say 5, 10, 20, 30. You will need an army of people to do these activities whenever a new release comes, which is time consuming. Believe me, I do it every time. And that problem kind of gets solved with the admin API. So if someday we would like to talk about it, I can surely talk about it. Admin API let you check how many environments you have, how much space you have. You can create new environment. You can install extensions from PowerShell without logging in into your customer tenant. For sure, with an authentication and all. But the problem that was existed till today is that there was no service to service authentication available in admin API. Now, what is service to service authentication? In your Business Central environments, what you can do is there is a area where you can authorize an app to kind of have permission to do things behind the scene. And with that, you don't have to kind of go and authenticate every time and things like that. So when you go into, I guess it's called AAD or it's your Active Directory applications. Yes, this. So any application which is defined here and for which you have granted consent and you have defined what the permissions that app has, then you can use this app to get your token from your PowerShell, and you will not have to log into environment to get access to it. This was not possible till now for admin APIs. This was only available for non-admin APIs. Like if you're trying to, let's say, create customers from PowerShell or from any other application which use an API, then the service to service authentication was available, but it was not available for admin API. So starting next release, this will be available, and this will be a huge time saver for people who plan their activities for all the SaaS customer using admin API rather than manually going in and doing these activities. Whatever you do, as in, I was just listing down some general activities that most of the partner do. But anything that you have to do on your environment for your customers, you can do it offline more or less without logging in using admin APIs. So this is something which will surely be a cool thing to be added into the product. I haven't used Power Platform much, to be very frank, and someday I will have to. It's getting as important as it is in general. But if you remember in the last release, Microsoft did add automate action on different pages in Business Central. So there is a power automate action available in most of the areas in Business Central. I think it's also available on customers and vendors and everything like that, so that you can actually invoke and even create new uh, power automate activities within Business Central. I don't know where it is, but I'm pretty sure they did add it. Mhm. Okay.
No, I think you need to
Yeah,
click on
here it
see
is.
my flows.
Here it is, right?
See my
Create a
flows.
flow. Yeah, create a flow or see my flows. So you can actually go and create a flow within Business Central now. And Microsoft Business Central search filter. Okay, let me see what options are there. I might not have any flows available. That's why it's not showing anything. Oh, here it is. So this is related to Business Central. So it's filtering out anything that's related to Business Central. So you can actually do it from here rather than doing it there. It takes you there. But on top of it, now there will be enhancement in that areas, so that actions will be added, which seems to be added already. I don't know what it says, but they can be moved, promoted, or hidden. Okay. Okay. This applies to personalizing or the single user or profile. Okay. So earlier, I guess you were not able to hide the automate actions which are added in different pages in Business Central. Now going forward in the next release, either using personalize as we do it for user wise, or if you customize the profile so that it applies to everyone who is assigned to that profile or user group, or by page extension, you can hide or make them visible or promoted, uh, the whole automate action group. Power Apps and Power Automate support for document attachment. So maybe this is something which will solve most of the problems that we are trying to deal with. That now, if you know Power Apps and Power Automate, you can have them built in to do document attachments. And I'm hoping outside Business Central, because that's what it makes sense to. So being able to go
Saurabh
ahead.
Manish here. Yeah.
Yes,
So
Manish.
yeah, I've gone through this Power App, and it seems that it can read any document and can email the details to it.
Oh,
So is there any feasibility where we can read the mail body, Outlook mail
we
body?
we I haven't
There is,
seen this one.
there
Go
is
ahead.
actually.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, you get definitely to go. You need to go to Power Automate, and in the activity, you can have the activity to read emails. You can actually attach the body, attach documents, read the body, everything. It's
In the Power
actually,
Automate.
yeah, not on Business Central. The
Okay.
activities to read actually email from Outlook, from Gmail, everything, and there you could definitely go on with extensive features like reading the body and everything.
So
Hmm.
I can read it, the mail body, Outlook mail body, and from that data, I can create any masters in Business Central. Can we do that, such as customer or contacts?
Well, is the data as text or is it an image or something?
Okay.
Now, if it's an
That
image, you need an OCR to read the image. If it's text, you can definitely read it from the body, extract like the customer's ID, the item's ID, create a purchase order.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I'll surely have to play with it. As in, Manish or Sam, can you send me which one it is, which Power Automate it is? I'll see if I can
So
do something around
there's
it.
one default I've seen actually. There's a save email, and from the another one I have gone through was read invoice and send it to email. That's a ready-made template we have. I didn't explore much on this because I have not a good hands on it.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay. Yeah, just send it to me. Maybe that's something that will start my Power Automate journey. I have done some useless thing for sure, but this will help if I can do that.
So actually, I put the question on your forum is related to this only because I want to
Okay.
extract data from the Outlook body and need to create masters in Business Central, such as customer or contact. So that
You
was
should
I
have
was
also given a context that you are using Power Automate. My brain didn't even went to that direction, but that's a good catch.
okay.
I might try that out. Yeah, because we were discussing about doing it from a Graph API, but it's a little bit hard to do it from there. But as you
Okay.
guys are saying, if there is a way to kind of where Power Automate can read emails, that'll be great. So yeah, Manish, if you can just send me the template as in the link
Sure,
for the
I'll
template,
do that.
and
I'll do that.
I'll try to play around with it. No problem.
Sure.
Okay, so this one is will allow to access document attachment, related record media, and other data linked to business records. Just open up for a Power Automate flow or Power Automate to set scenario and rich extended data in Business Central. For example, this could be an app allowing service worker to take a photo of inventory, upload it to Business Central, or it could be an automated flow that creates a sales order from an attachment received in earlier as an email, which is processed and linked as a PDF in the Business Central order entry. Okay, there's surely something to try out. Let's see what it do. Okay, and then this is just again, if you have seen the Business Central and if your customers are not using Power BI, it's hard to kind of go ahead and remove it everywhere. So there are some enhancement where people can remove it, show or hide Power BI things. Okay, now on the onboarding, again, nothing much interesting on the onboarding other than one thing which I've seen. One is the description improvement, which is the tooltip is being redone by Microsoft, which will make them more useful. That's what this description improvement is. So the tooltips of each field and action which Microsoft have, they will try to kind of enhance that to be more clear. This is important for partners, which is easily access setup pages for new apps. Now think about it that, and it's not, I don't think that it's only limited for apps on app source, but let's take an example. If you are as a customer choosing an app from app source, you surely need some help to identify where the setups are and how should I configure it and things. So like how should you configure? Microsoft have already handled it by giving you a wizard option as partners where you can build a wizard and all. But customer also gets stuck to know what is my starting point from where I actually start setting up this app. So with the next release, Microsoft is changing your app.json. So in the app.json, there will be a new property to specify the setup page ID. When you're building your extension, if you defined a particular page in your extension into this property, as soon as the installation is over, that page will automatically pop up for you customers to kind of set up your app. So as much it is useful for customers or partners who have apps on app stores, I think it is useful for apps that you are building, which may be smaller apps. Like we did build this SharePoint thing that we were testing out for last 2-3 weeks. You will need to have yourself present there or someone present to tell them that there is a SharePoint setup where you need to go and set up these properties. What if as soon as they install this app, this page automatically pops up? And then based on the tooltips that are defined here, if they are done correctly, And if there is a teaching tip on this page, user can actually automatically set this up without a help of a partner or ISV partner, more or less. So that gap will get filled with this new property on app.json, which is the setup page ID. Now this is interesting, and I don't know how Microsoft will do this, but I'm surely interested in how they are planning to do this. Because based on this description of this feature, it'll make it easier for users to discover the third-party apps which their business can use for external business productivity services, like apps related to banks and things like that. Sorry. So I don't know how they're planning to do this, but if you were here in the last releases when Microsoft introduced an extension called recommended app, if you haven't seen it, search for it. There's an extension for it, and then there is a page where the partners can recommend some apps to their customers. This was a very basic one, but this page will list down things if you use the events available in the base Microsoft app to fill in the data into recommended apps. That was the kind of the initial thought that they had. Now, will they use the same feature of recommended app to extend this? I don't know, but this will be interesting to see how they kind of identify which apps will be related to which kind of customers, because there is no kind of a field or a setup which tells you that, oh, this customer will be interested in these kind of apps and things like that. So I don't know what's in there, what's cooking there, but we'll see once the preview is available what is happening in this. If you have customers on SaaS, there was some kind of time consuming steps when you do an install of a new app from your app source. With this enhancement, they are making that path easier rather than having multiple step to kind of choose an app, then go into extension management, check the status of installation and all. That is kind of what they are trying to solve with this new feature of easy install and set up new apps. The setup new app is again the same thing, the setup page ID on your app, and that's it. This is interesting. On productivity with Microsoft 365, configure OneDrive integration. I'm hoping that Microsoft will have this kind of fully baked in for OneDrive integration, so then people can use OneDrive to store their files, and let's see how they bake this in. But what the document says at this point, that the users or customers will be able to choose what kind of synchronization they need, either one side, both side synchronization, or none to the OneDrive. And then it have a, for even for on-premise customer, there's a detailed guideline of how you set up different things to have your configuration done with OneDrive, and then the setup guide guides you around it. What's coming up with this, what's going away with this, is there is a legacy feature of SharePoint connection which I haven't used, but you can search it on Business Central at this moment. You can just search for it. I never used it because I was never able to set this up. But this is a standard Microsoft SharePoint connection setup, and I don't know how they use it, but this will go away as this one will come up, as in it will not go away exactly at the same time. There will be a timeline or the deprecation policy of a year which Microsoft will follow. So the SharePoint connection setup and the integration capabilities which were earlier, which will be removed with this, and the SharePoint integration, OneDrive integration will be built in with the next release. So if you're planning to spend some time on building OneDrive integration, take a pause, it's coming in the next release, and let's see what the base brings up so that we can add on top of it if required. Delegated admin can now do edit in Excel. Hey Sam, yeah.
Yeah, I just sent in a link to a how-to guide to read emails.
Oh, that's cool. Let me open that. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay. HTML to text. Okay, here it is HTML to text, which is cool. Insert. Okay. One thing, Manish is still here, right? Manish, why you want to read an email if you have to do a create or a update customers? Right? Just to take in
So
simple example.
the clients will get their data on the email body with a particular fixed template. So
Shouldn't you be suggesting them to use an attachment in the email? Just a thought.
okay,
Because that will be more easier to read. Because a email can have a email signature. Email can have a email text other than your standard text that you need to read, right?
right.
If it's an
So
attachment, then you have different options. Like you can take it in Excel, CSV, JSON,
right,
and
but
then use
they
the
are
readers.
they are used to it actually.
Okay, that's a thought because emails can be tricky, right?
Right,
There
right,
can
right.
be a lot of things in an email, but yeah, surely I'll see if I can do something on this before we meet next time. Let's see if I can read that because, and if you don't mind, if you can just send an email with if you have a sample of what kind of email they get, it'll be easier to kind of align
Sure,
towards that
we'll do
direction.
that.
Okay. Now, going forward, delegated admins, which are most majorly partners on customer environment, now can do edit in Excel, which is okay. I think it'll be helpful in implementation where partners help the customer to kind of set up the masters and all. So that's where the edit in Excel will help them. There are some cool things on reporting. One is Microsoft is utilizing what they released in the last version, which is the Excel reports. So now they will have some built-in data set for some of the tables, like general ledger, budgets, and global dimension and all, which will allow partners to have an idea of how they can utilize that Excel report feature, which is part of Business Central 2022 release wave 1. So I'm pretty sure there will be some cool stuff coming out of it when Microsoft is trying to utilize the feature which was built earlier. That's not that I was not super cool feeling cool about that. But one thing is this, where you can now, if you are in nav users and have used nav in 2016 or 2015s of the world, the options are coming back where you can send your report to your inbox, report inbox from the request page directly. So you don't have to wait for it. And that was an option available in nav earlier. It kind of lost in transition when Business Central came into the picture. That feature is coming back, which will allow you to not to wait for a long running report and send it to inbox from the request page. This is the coolest feature, which I was waiting for a very long time, to be very frank, which is ability to choose a report layout on the request page. So what we can do as of today, we can define one layout as the primary or the default layout in a report for a specific company. And then if customer would like to change it, they have to go into this page and then where they have to set this up per company wise that this becomes default layout and all. But users were not able to utilize the benefit of multiple layouts for a report because it was hard to do it. With this upcoming release, what will happen is there will be a drop down on the request page to choose which layout user would like to use when they run the report. So just to take an example, there is a report where you have two word layouts, two RDLC layout, and then there is an Excel layout that you have added. So user can define at the runtime that which of these layout he would like to run, rather than going back into what is that page? I forgot. Report layout administration or something like that. Report layout. Report layouts. Yeah. So what you do today is you go to this page, and this is just added in Business Central 20. So if you haven't seen it, that's okay. But this was the recent one, which lists down all the layouts for each report. You pick a report, let's say, which have multiple layouts. This have only one, and then you set it default, and that makes it default. That's it. If you have multiple, then you can only make one as default. If you want to do it by company, then what you have to do is you have to search for a different page, which is report layout selection, I guess. Custom report layouts. And here you can set that this layout is default for this company, and then you can choose a different for different company. It is kind of time consuming, and people were not able to utilize the benefit of multiple layouts. With this feature in the product with next release, users will be able to choose it when they are running the report. Now, how that impacts the emailing feature or any other feature that where you run the report behind the scene is interesting. Where you run a report, attach and save it into a PDF, that all will change. So if you have coded something around that, be ready for change on it. Hey, Sam?
Yeah, is there a way to hide the RDL from Business Central? Like I would create the RDL and leave it in the extension, so nobody would be able to read the RDL.
You don't want to show it to user, or you
No,
don't want to use it?
I'll be using it, but I'm not actually showing it in Business Central to the users, if you will.
No, the report layout administration page will show you all the layouts.
Okay.
As in earlier, it was possible. But starting this release with this new page of this release, where I'm saying this release, the release which we are using right now, with this page, it'll be visible to everyone. All the layouts. Well, it also lists down which extensions come from.
I was thinking about a code unit that would be triggered each time the standard report is executing.
That's possible. But yeah, it'll not make it invisible. Users can still see it from this page. But yeah, that's how it is.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. Okay. On service and platform, there's nothing back, as in there are telemetry signals on Power BI, which is not much. On user experience, if you have, maybe I'm a new developer or something like that, I haven't used the legacy list view, but they are going away, because in 2023 the old legacy views, that list views, if you have created for your users, they will go away and will be replaced with the new views that are available. So you still have a year to kind of refactor those old legacy list views to the new legacy view before they go away in version 23. There's nothing on the UI design. Yeah, nothing much. And then this is something which is important, especially for those customers who have multiple companies, and they always get into trouble of going into multiple clicks to change a company. Two enhancements on this. On the top ribbon of your browser, you will be able to see which environment you are in or which company you are in, and then there will be a drop down which will allow you to switch the company at any point. You don't have to go 3-4 clicks if you have to change the company. I'm not sure yet, but I'm hoping that it will also allow, and it seems it is allowing you. I don't know, based on this image, it's just my assumption that if you have multiple environments and you are using that hybrid extension, there's an extension around it which can link multiple environments. Maybe you can change or switch between environments from this page, because I see the production, 3 productions here. Then there is a sandbox 2, and then there is a Cronus archived, which I don't know what it is. But I'm hoping that if you take an example of a company which exists in US, Italy, Canada, India, Bangladesh, and all these tenants will be different based on different reasons, but you would like to get a consolidated view, then there is an extension which kind of links all these environments to easy access. So if I'm not wrong, and I'm just assuming it, maybe that list will also be populated here, that you can even switch between tenants if you have multiple tenants available. So that's what is the last enhancement on switching companies across environments. Yeah. Oh, I forgot the title. Yeah, across environments, which means that yes, if you have multi environments, you can choose and switch between those environments without much hassle, just by drop down and switching them in. So that's all on the Business Central next release. Anything else that, or any of these titles that you think are, will help us in general? I didn't find anything much interesting, to be very fair, other than the SharePoint integration and that thing.
Well, the Shopify
Sam?
connector. The Shopify connector.
Yeah, I'll have to play with it. But yeah, anybody who's going to try that, I guess one of our fellow MVP from India, Mohana, have written a detailed article about it.
Yeah, I've
How
read
to
that.
configure and things like that. But yeah, Shopify is something. Okay, so yeah, Manish, you can send me those details on email and we'll talk about it in the next meeting as you send it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay then. Thank you all. See you next week.
Okay, thank you, Saurav.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saurav. Thank you.
Thanks.